This fertilizer will double the tomato yields. They will be healthy and strong, and you will harvest them in full buckets. Just water them with this natural mixture. Tomatoes are an easy target for diseases and fungi, so spraying is necessary during cultivation. If you're not a fan of chemical substances, this recipe will certainly come in handy. We use it for tomato seedlings planted in the ground. Despite their popularity, tomatoes are very sensitive to weather conditions. They are prone to diseases, especially fungi, when the air and soil are very humid. Therefore, yeast, which are good fungi themselves, will be a very effective spray. To prepare the spray, we need 2 packages of dried yeast, around 10 grams in total. Then we add a tablespoon of white sugar to them. Dissolve the entire mixture in 1 liter of warm water. Mix thoroughly and let it dissolve. After 20 minutes, the spray will be ready for use. Water tomato seedlings with the yeast mixture once a week. The yeast spray is used preventively to strengthen plant immunity and protect them from dangerous fungal diseases. Yeast creates a natural barrier on the surface of stems and leaves while promoting plant growth. By colonizing the leaves, yeast displaces harmful microorganisms, thereby protecting plants from the development of many diseases, including fungal ones. Fresh yeast spray is also a proven and inexpensive way to protect tomato crops from diseases transmitted by pests, including aphids. Using yeast spray reduces the risk of disease occurrence, and when applied to already infected plants, it displaces harmful microorganisms by competing for the nutrients necessary for disease-causing fungi. The high effectiveness of the baker's yeast solution is attributed to magnesium, iron, zinc, potassium, selenium, calcium, phosphorus, chromium, amino acids, proteins, and B-group vitamins. Such yeast spray is inexpensive to prepare, and its components are remarkably effective. Let us know in the comments if you have already used this method. If you like our tips, please leave a like and subscribe. We publish new videos every day.
I water the strawberries with this mixture. The harvests are so large that I gather them in full buckets. I thought strawberries wouldn't grow in my soil. When I learned this recipe, it turned out that I have huge yields every year. I crumble a yeast cube into a bowl. Add a cup of cow's milk. Yeast provides nutrients that promote vigorous strawberry growth. Then, add a tablespoon of dishwashing liquid. It protects the plants from parasites. Mix everything until the yeast dissolves. Pour the mixture into a bucket with 10 liters of water. It's best if it's rainwater. Then, take the bucket to the beds. Water the plants using a smaller container. Fertilizing strawberries with this mixture also protects them from diseases. In addition, the fruits grow large and juicy. I gather them in full buckets. During the season, I have plenty of strawberries. It's all thanks to this homemade method. This is an extremely effective and inexpensive fertilizer for tomatoes and cucumbers. It promotes lush growth and protects against diseases. It also facilitates rooting, which is crucial in the early stages of vegetable growth. Forget about expensive chemical fertilizers. You can support the healthy growth of your plants by providing them with natural micronutrients, iron, vitamins, and carbohydrates. To start, prepare a jar. Pour 2 cups of warm water into the jar. Next, add a tablespoon of baking soda. Baking soda helps balance the soil's pH and prevents root diseases. The next ingredient is a tablespoon of dry yeast. Yeast provides plants with many valuable nutrients and stimulates proper root development. Now, thoroughly mix all the ingredients in the jar until the yeast and baking soda are completely dissolved. Your fertilizer is now ready to use. Dilute it in 2.5 gallons of water and use it to water the soil around your tomatoes and cucumbers. Apply it every 2 weeks. Regular use of this fertilizer supports healthy seedling growth. Thanks to the baking soda and yeast, cucumbers and tomatoes will be better protected against diseases. This homemade fertilizer is eco-friendly, inexpensive, and delivers excellent results.
I water the cucumbers with one addition. The yields are gigantic. I gather them in full buckets. This fertilizer has been in my family for generations. Every year we have so many cucumbers that we have to give them away to the neighbors. Growing cucumbers can be childishly simple, despite being a plant with high soil requirements. Soils for cucumber cultivation should have a good structure, be rich in organic matter and humus. Proper nutrition for the plant is also important. Unfortunately, cucumbers often fall victim to fungal diseases. To reduce the use of pesticides, it's worth resorting to natural protection methods, among which yeast spray is often recommended. Preparing it is very simple. Crush half a cube of fresh yeast into a bowl. They contain primarily B group vitamins, carbohydrates, organic iron, amino acids, and trace elements. Next, add a glass of sugar. Mix everything thoroughly and pour warm water over it. Leave it for a while for the yeast to start working. The glucose contained in the sugar will help the cucumbers produce new flowers. Dissolve the yeast mixture in 5 liters of water. Leave it to ferment for a week before using it for fertilizing. It is more effective then. If you don't have time, you can use the undiluted yeast mixture an hour after dissolving the yeast. Water the cucumbers planted in the ground with this mixture. The yeast solution perfectly affects the growth of cucumbers. It supplies the seedlings with B group vitamins, iron, amino acids, and various trace elements. This is enough to stimulate and strengthen the roots and accelerate plant growth. Yeast has one more advantage. When you water the plants with them, they enter into symbiosis with the roots. Then, other harmful fungi and various disease-causing microorganisms have limited access to the roots. So, yeast protects the roots from various diseases and infections. They act protectively. Moreover, you can use them in 2 ways. The first one involves preparing a watering solution, and the second one is the spray. The spray remains on the plant leaves, eliminating unnecessary microorganisms and fungal diseases. Just use the spray at least once a month to double the yields. I have been using this recipe for years, and every year I gather a gigantic amount of cucumbers.
Add to water and water the peonies. It's the best spring fertilizer for peonies. And soon the peonies will be covered in flowers in return. At this time of year, peonies start to sprout. Here's how beautifully their shoots start to grow. Spring is the right time to start fertilizing them. They are coming to life, and you can provide them with better conditions with the right fertilizer. In a few weeks, you will admire beautiful buds. They will increase every day. Then they will only bloom and smell beautiful. No one can pass by their flowers indifferently. Although they bloom briefly, it's hard to resist their charm. That's why it's worth taking care of them to make them even more beautiful this year. You can make this simple fertilizer anytime. It's best to water the peonies with it from early spring. All you need is a bucket of warm water. Prepare a fertilizer in it that will provide the peonies with the necessary nutrients for growth. It will strengthen their roots and stimulate flowering. Dissolve a cube of yeast in 10 liters of warm water. Leave it for an hour to dissolve and then water the peonies. This non-fermented yeast fertilizer is simple and quick to prepare. If you make fertilizer with yeast and sugar, then leave such fertilizer for a week. After this time, dissolve 1 cup in 10 liters of water and only then water the peonies.